There's nothing wrong with just enjoying superhero movies without reading the comic books, but you're missing out on tons of characters that haven't yet made it to the big screen. At times, it seems like we keep seeing the same movies about the same superheroes, when there is a huge wealth of interesting characters out there. We'll tell you about some of the C-list superheroes who deserve way more attention, and some A-listers who we are tired of seeing. Before we begin, make sure that you hit subscribe for more videos from CBR. Now let's get started. A-list, Wonder Woman. We love seeing strong female characters get more screen time, but it's time for Wonder Woman to give it a rest. Yes, she's a badass Amazonian warrior, but her personality leaves a lot to be desired. She just doesn't really seem to have much of one, besides the fact that she likes taking down bad guys. In fact, it seems like she just reacts to situations around her, instead of her personality influencing things. And sure, it's great to see a female in the leading role, but Gal Gadot spent much of the film being lusted after by men, which doesn't really jive with the whole female empowerment thing. Wonder Woman has been around for ages, and she really needs a hard reboot and a personality to hold our interest and fairly represent women. Or we could give some attention to some even more deserving C-list female superheroes. C-list, Angela. Angela is a hero created by beloved author Neil Gaiman, and she's the epitome of what we want more of. She's a super tough angelic bounty hunter who we first saw in Spawn number 9. Although her story was written by Gaiman, she was drawn by Todd McFarlane, who made her look like a pinup girl with an impractical outfit, much to the dismay of many fans. Then, McFarlane claimed that Gaiman was simply contracted to create Angela, instead of being co-owner as they had originally agreed. A lengthy legal battle ensued, with Gaiman emerging victorious. Just to really rub it in McFarlane's face, Gaiman turned around and practically gave the rights of Angela to Marvel. They then changed her origin to make her Thor's long-lost sister. She's done so many interesting and awesome things in the comic books, and it's about time we get to see her in her own movie.
Wow.
C-list, Copycat. Speaking of awesome female characters, who doesn't love Wade Wilson's girlfriend, Vanessa? She's gorgeous, funny, and more than a little bit wild. Although we loved her in Deadpool and Deadpool 2, we couldn't help but notice that she's ultimately a cheap plot device. Deadpool loses the love of his life, and this drives his motivation the rest of the movie before he saves her somehow. But in the books, Vanessa has her own powers of transformation and goes by the name Copycat. We would love to see her grow into her own powers instead of just existing to better encourage a male superhero.
What's up, guys? You forget your PIN number?
A-list, Spider-Man. Few superheroes have been rebooted in recent years as many times as Spider-Man. We get it, and we love everyone's friendly neighborhood superhero as well, but don't you think it's time to see some new heroes and not see the same web slinging over and over and over again? When he first showed up, he was a big deal to fans. Here was a hapless teenager who struggled with being a loner and then found himself with powers. This was both relatable and a dream come true to many fans. But at this point, it's just become a trope. Not only that, but it seems that recently Spider-Man has just become Iron Man Jr. We think that we can all agree that one Iron Man is plenty. Thanks. C-list, Captain Comet. It's no secret that we love movies about space, from Star Wars to Guardians of the Galaxy. So why doesn't DC get a piece of the action by making a movie about Captain Comet? He was created between the gold and silver ages of comics and was a mutant superhero about a decade before the X-Men even existed. He's super strong, psychic, and has telekinesis. Oh, and he loves exploring the galaxy when he's not fighting crimes. This would be a totally different movie than DC has done in the past, and might be a fantastic shakeup for theaters. Sure, he's an older superhero, but his story is so great that it really hasn't been tinkered with much over the years. He was intended to represent the pinnacle of human evolution, so he should probably at least get his own movie at some point. C-list, Namor. If Jason Momoa can make Aquaman look amazing, we think it's way past time for another aquatic-based superhero. Just like Captain Comet, Namor is one of the first mutant superheroes to be born with his powers. There have been many different versions of him over the years, from anti-hero to good-natured superhero. He has a strong sense of justice and a taste for vengeance that makes him a great character. He's also worked with many A-list heroes such as the Avengers, the Fantastic Four, and the X-Men, just to name a few. Namor has experienced being both an asset and a foil to some superheroes who are already successes at the box office.
And Hulk. Smash.
A-list, the Incredible Hulk. Listen, we don't mean to make you angry, but we think that the Incredible Hulk has had more than enough time to shine. He's one of the most famous and popular superheroes around, but he only deals with problems in one way: by smashing them. Sure, he's really good at it, but we get it. The fact that Bruce Banner can't control his big green alter ego means that there is only so much you can do with the guy. Mild-mannered Bruce Banner gets mad about something, turns into the Hulk, smashes everything around him, then reverts back with a whole bunch of regret. We get it already. Not to mention that he frequently turns on his allies, making him a less than ideal teammate for our favorite heroes. C-list, Zatanna. Okay, so on the list of things that are cool, magicians usually don't make it into the top 10, but hear us out. Zatanna may pull rabbits out of hats on stage, but she's also capable of real acts of incredible magic. She's one of the most powerful sorceresses in the DC universe, and the less she uses her powers, the more potent they become. Zatanna also has some high-level superhero connections, including rubbing elbows with the Justice League and being romantically involved with John Constantine. Magic is one thing that we don't see a ton of when it comes to superheroes, so why not introduce this element right with Zatanna? She's had a few false starts with movies that never ended up being made, but we can't wait to see her in Justice League Dark.
Don't mind him, he just wants to protect your honor.
I don't need a chaperone.
C-list, Nightwing. Calling Nightwing the sidekick of Batman is majorly underselling this awesome character. Sure, he did spend some time under Batman's wing, but in doing so he mastered martial arts and picked up some other handy skills as well. Instead of making new stories about Batman over and over again, why not focus on his protege who is amazing in his own right? When he was unmasked in New 52, Dick Grayson faked his own death and became a secret agent. There are so many great directions to go with this character, who is almost criminally underrated and underutilized. Sure, he started out as a teenage sidekick Robin, but saying he's grown up a little since then is a huge understatement.
Well, here I am.
A-list, Batman. Batman is one of those great, iconic superheroes who has been absolutely done to death. He's been played by Adam West, Michael Keaton, Val Kilmer, George Clooney, Christian Bale, and Ben Affleck, and each time he gets a whole new story. It's great that he fights crime despite not having any superpowers, but we are tired of hearing the same story told in slightly different ways. Sure, he can do a lot with a few $1 million and a ton of prep time, but that doesn't exactly put him on par with most other heroes with fantastical powers. And despite his many different stories, he's always a brooding lone wolf. He's become more of a superhero archetype than one we're interested in seeing more of at this point in time. Some people feel that Batman is overrated, but we will definitely say that he's overdone at the very least. C-list, Dr. Fate. If you want a character that you can change without having to add tons of retconning, why not concentrate on Dr. Fate? He comes from a long line of sorcerers, as putting on the helmet transforms the wearer into Fate. It's been worn by many people, who are all granted magical powers, enhanced strength, flight, and invulnerability. That's quite the impressive and exciting laundry list of superpowers. The Helmet of Fate has been involved in tons of great comic book storylines, and brings a great supernatural element to the table. He's proven to be a popular character in the comics, animated series, and the show Smallville. We think that Dr. Fate is long overdue for his own major movie role. C-list, Swamp Thing. It seems that most superheroes are incredibly attractive with perfect bodies. And then there's Swamp Thing. He's the creation of incredible author Alan Moore, who's known for Watchmen and V for Vendetta among many other great works. As for Swamp Thing, picture him as a much more extreme and less handsome Captain Planet. His backstory has been rewritten, retconned, and revised tons of times, and it seems like not much has been done with him for quite a while. He's an incredibly unique character who has the potential for interesting storylines unlike any currently popular superheroes. Despite the lack of sustained focus on Swamp Thing's storylines, he continues to be a cult favorite comic book character. What if an anthropomorphic blob of swamp is the only thing that can save the human race from the harmful effects of global warming?
What the hell?
A-list, Wolverine. What on earth would all of the hapless women of the world do without Wolverine? He's been the focus of so many versions of the X-Men, and it's way past time that he steps out of the spotlight. There are tons of incredible mutants out there, and we just keep seeing more and more of Wolverine brooding and slicing up bad guys. And if you're tired of seeing him in movies, at least he's better on screen than in the comic book versions. His romantic history is disturbing to say the least, and all of his charming relationships with young girls don't stay strictly platonic. We know that Wolverine doesn't generally play well with others, but at some point, being constantly abrasive and caustic is just hard to watch. C-list, Gambit. When it comes to superpowers, you have to admit that Gambit's are pretty unique. He can turn any object into an explosive weapon, control minds, and he wields a bow staff like nobody's business. Gambit has a dry sense of humor and an extremely clever wit that make him a great character to see interacting with others. He started out as a thief before he joined up with the X-Men, making many of his new cohorts suspicious of him. There's also the on-again, off-again relationship between him and Rogue. Gambit is an example of a character with a ton of potential that just needs a few tweaks in order to be great. Although he's supposedly getting his own movie starring Channing Tatum, it's been stuck in development hell forever. So far, it's gone through 3 directors, so this might not be the chance to see Gambit done right that we were hoping for. C-List, Resurrection Man. Superheroes are known for being tough to take down, but if they pass away, there's often a way for them to come back. Well, Resurrection Man may have it easier in that respect, but although he returns, he isn't the same as before. You can take him out, but he will be back again with a brand new superpower. These new powers can range from pretty darn useless to incredibly potent. Needless to say, this means that he has pretty much unlimited potential as far as storylines go. Not to mention the interesting moral and ethical dilemmas he faces, such as considering taking his own life to return with a more powerful ability. One of the chief complaints about Superman is that he's just too powerful. With Resurrection Man, he has access to all powers, but only one at a time. And the method of acquiring them is pretty unpleasant to say the least.
What are you still doing? Get out of here. Go make yourself useful, you.
Now that you know what we think, we want to hear from you. Which superheroes are you tired of seeing? And which do you want to be more heavily featured? Let us know in the comments section below, and then hit subscribe for more videos from CBR. We'll see you next time.